Hey buddy, ready to go home? Back in 2017, I began a full restoration of my 96 Bayliner by tearing it apart all the way down to the hull. From there, I began the rebuilding process, which included learning to fiberglass, rebuilding an engine and outdrive, learning to fair and paint, and even upholstery. Now, I've bought a 28-foot cabin cruiser, and I'm starting all over. Welcome, my name's Jared. Now get ready, because it's going to be a ship show. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Jared, and welcome aboard this project boat. We are continuing on our path of reassembly here and getting things back in the engine compartment and other odds and ends, trying to make sure we get this boat ready to launch in as soon as possible, honestly. Coming in on Memorial Day weekend here and still a lot of stuff to do, so get my butt in gear. Anyways, as you saw in the opening of this video, we are going to tackle reinstalling the generator today. So I got the bilge area cleaned out where it needs to go, so let's get this thing in here. So we ended up having to stop there because as we were lifting the generator up, I made the realization that, oh crap, I didn't drill the holes for this to mount yet. That needs to be done before this thing goes in, because there's no way to get a drill in for the mount holes in the base of this thing after it's in place. So we stopped, kind of lowered it back down to head height, and then I went inside, grabbed a piece of like thick poster board, like foam board, something relatively rigid, and used that to make a template of the mounting holes. Just kind of poked a punch down through the holes, marked the poster board, took it in the bilge, located it where I wanted it, drilled the holes, took care of that. So that was what that stoppage point there was, and that hiccup that I realized, like, oh crap, I got to do this first. So let's continue. All right, so to sum up, what I got done so far is obviously got the thing hoisted up and into the boat and dropped it into place with those holes pre-drilled. I ended up coating all 4 of the stainless steel screws with a sealant, thread sealant, and got them screwed in. So the generator was locked down into place. Then we needed to go ahead and get at least the top and kind of left side cover on, just because I didn't have to hook anything up in that area, so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So we got those installed, a couple of screws going around to hold them and some pins that align it and stuff like that, so pretty simple. Then I wanted to go ahead and get the positive and negative battery cables run. So I went ahead and crimped the lugs on the end of 4-aught wire, not 4-aught, 4-gauge wire, the black and the red. They were still on a spool, so to figure out the length, I ended up running them through the generator, routing them through the path that they were going to run, hooked them up to the actual terminals on the generator, then pulled the other end back to the bus bar and the fuse where it was going to connect, cut them to length, went inside, crimped those terminals on, got that finished up. Then I needed to go ahead and get the fuel line installed, so installed a couple of zip tie clips kind of along the bilge where I'm going to use those for the fuel line, some wiring, and some other stuff. So we got the fuel line routed back along there and cut to length and screwed onto the fuel fitting with some clamps. And finally, I didn't really show this because I must have lost the footage, camera died or something, I'm not sure, but I ended up screwing down the muffler or silencer, whatever you want to call it, down to the floor again, and then hooking up the exhaust hose from the generator to the muffler. Now, those exhaust hoses, because they're dealing with the water and depending on changing water line, they all get double clamped. All right, so that pretty much brings us to where we are now. And the next step that I need to get into is reconnecting the electrical. So in previous videos, the wiring was already there, the existing harness that goes to the remote start button, and then there's also the actual AC wiring that goes into the control box. So I had to refeed those into the back of the control box through one of those strain relief clamp things. Ran it in the back of the junction box and hooked up the positive wire to the back of the circuit breaker. So the live wire goes to the back of the circuit breaker, and then the neutral and ground wire go to the same common stud. So any AC source on a boat has to have a bonded ground and neutral wire. So if you're hooked up to shore power, you don't have to worry about it because it's bonded at the shore power side. When it's coming from your generator, you have to have the ground and neutral bonded at your generator. If it's coming from the inverter, you have to have it bonded at the inverter. Now, the Victron inverter has some kind of smart technology built into it, so it'll automatically connect and disconnect that bonding through a relay, so it's kind of smart in that way. But point being is, it seems weird, but when you're connecting the neutral and ground in the generator, they're actually going to the same terminal. So I wanted to go over this because it's really hard to show what I'm doing inside of that junction box, but just kind of telling you that's what's going on. It's pretty straightforward. And then the last thing I needed to do is actually plug in the plug on the back of the junction box for that remote start button that is up in the cabin area, the electrical panel. So one more thing, and that is installing the new water inlet line. It's a 3/4 inch, and I'm using water/exhaust hose, the standard marine grade stuff. So get that installed on the water inlet, and again, double clamp, just because you don't want to flood your boat. Got that installed, routed, and I'm leaving it run long for now because I still have to install the sea strainers, and we'll get that cut to length and installed at a later point. So that's it, guys. That is the generator reinstalled in the boat. Again, one more thing done off the list, which feels awesome. That's a big one. And it's the other big thing that's really nice about that is I regained that space in the garage, so now I kind of have a little bit more room to work around in there. Now I'm super excited because in my previous video, I got the electrical panel installed finally down underneath here in the aft cabin. And in a future video, I've already started working on this. I'm gonna be hooking up all that electrical stuff coming from the existing wiring harnesses, new wire runs, hooking it all up to the panel down there, running the AC wiring, all that. So we're getting dangerously close to being able to actually test the AC and DC systems on this boat, which is super exciting. I'm sure there will be some bugs and hiccups. It's probably gonna be something stupid where I forgot to install a fuse or something, or forgot a battery switch, but anyways, we're getting really close to cool things happening. So I know this one's a little bit short, but I wanted to make this its own video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this informational and entertaining. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like down below, leave a comment. I always try and answer as many as I can. And don't forget to subscribe subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.